July 23rd, 2026, and Barcelona have officially presented Karim Adeyemi. We're going to talk all about that. Also, the club have confirmed Frenkie de Jong's injury. And finally, Ter Stegen's exit is being delayed for a reason that's going to piss you off, because it sure pissed me off. Anyways, we have a lot to discuss. So let's begin. Hello everyone, and welcome to the channel. My name is Mo, and welcome to another Barca News live podcast, where usually it's Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. But as I mentioned during yesterday's podcast, tomorrow, Friday, I'm going to be busy. I have a friend visiting from out of the country. So as soon as I finish work, I'm going to be meeting up with my friend. We're going to go to dinner, catch up, blah, 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 because their flight is on Saturday. So since I cannot do the podcast tomorrow, Friday's podcast is canceled. And technically not canceled, has been moved to today. So today we have a Thursday podcast instead of a Friday podcast. But anyways, as you know, Barca News Podcasts is where I get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section, my Barca News family, by reading your comments and reacting to them. So start dropping your comments, your questions, anything you want to add to the discussion in the chat section. For those of you who will be watching when the podcast ends, we'll be putting timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. If you're looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure to hit the Goal Kits, Skip Bag. No, just Goal Kits or Fanatics. No, just Skip Bag or Fanatics. Can't even remember. And if you're looking to place any sports bets, make sure to bet us. All links in the description. You click on them, you get access to some pretty cool deals and offers. All right, let's begin with the news. Actually, now that we have begun with the news, there's a lot of people who skip the discussion, go straight into the news in the chapter. So I'm going to start the chapter here so people hear this this announcement. I'm sorry, I just said it a few moments ago, but for people who usually skip the intro, here it goes again. Today is Thursday. Podcasts are usually Friday. I'm doing it today, Thursday, because tomorrow, Friday, I'm going to be busy. So there's not going to be a podcast tomorrow. Friday's podcast has been moved to right now. Anyways, let's begin with the news because, ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona have officially presented the second official signing of the summer, which is no other than Karim Adeyemi. Wait, hold on. There we go. I forgot about these sound effects that I have. Oh, wait. Can you even hear it? I think you can, right? Oh, yeah, you can, because it's a separate channel. I have 4 channels on here, and I still don't know how to use it. But anyways, here we go. Wait, no, I got to start from the beginning. Ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona have officially announced the second signing of the summer transfer market, or the second official signing of the summer transfer market, which is no other than Karim Adeyemi. Let's go. Of course, the first official signing was Anthony Gordon, who Barcelona already presented prior to the World Cup. This is the second official one. Of course, Joao Cancelo is currently in the works. They're saying they're in advanced talks with Al Hilal to finalize it. There's also an update about Jorge Salinas, who could be the 4th or maybe the 3rd if he gets signed before Cancelo. That's going to be in the next segment. And then, of course, there's Julian Alvarez, who the World Cup just ended. So we'll see what happens now that the player can focus more on his transfer rather than the tournament. But Barcelona have presented the 24-year-old German attacker who they have signed from Dortmund until 2031. Now, of course, Adeyemi, as you know by now, had a 1 year left on his contract with Dortmund until 2027. He refused to renew. Dortmund tried to put pressure on him, even relegate him to the bench, but he stood firm, did not want to renew. So finally, Dortmund agreed to sell him, since this was going to be their last opportunity to make money. Otherwise, next summer, he would have left free. And then on top of that, Adeyemi said, I want to go to Barca and Barca only. So all this combined allowed Barcelona to sign Adeyemi for what was, or at least to me, an absolute bargain, 22 million euros plus 7 in variables, which again, to me is an absolute bargain for an explosive player, someone who's very dangerous on a counter attack, someone who's only 24 years old. So we still haven't seen their best version. Now, if I do want to hear you guys' thoughts. Let me know, what do you think about the price? Is it a bargain? Is it not? Let me know, what do you think? Now, Adeyemi, of course, had some statements to say during his presentation. He first revealed that Hansi Flick was the main reason that he signed for Barca. Of course, he also wanted to play for Barca, calling it the greatest club in history, but saying that Flick was the main reason. Of course, Hansi Flick did coach Karim Adeyemi at the German national team. In fact, it was under Flick that Adeyemi debuted. He debuted in 2021 in I think it was a qualification match against Armenia, if I remember correctly. And of course, it was Flick who requested the signing of Adeyemi. So the two of them know each other very well, and that is one of the main reasons, or the main reason, that Adeyemi has signed for Barcelona. Now, Adeyemi did recognize this past season at Dortmund that was not a good season. However, he said that he was here to win trophies and that he was here to give his all for the club. Now, Adeyemi was asked about, what position he would like to play in. He said he didn't care, that he's here just to help Flick and to help the team, which of course is the kind of attitude that we want from players that we sign. We're not looking for players who demand things. We're not players for demand positions or minutes or starting positions or anything like that. We want players who are here to help the club, whether it be starting, whether it be on the bench, whether it be playing 90 minutes or 10 minutes, whether it be whatever position that coach puts him on, like Eddie Garcia, who's down and plays a center back, right back, DM, goalkeeper, whatever. That's the kind of players we need. We need players who are here for the team, for the club, for the crest, for the colors, not for themselves. Because, well, we've seen what happens when you sign players who only care about personal glory. Real penalties. Wait, who said that? So I'm glad to hear those statements from Karim Adeyemi. Now, if you're wondering more, why would Barcelona sign Karim Adeyemi? After all, he did look very promising, but towards he started out strong with Dortmund, but then he kind of like plateaued, and some would even say he dipped last season. Well, I think the reason why Hansi Flick requested this signing is because the kind of player that Adeyemi is, right? He's a dynamic attacking player who kind of suits the Hansi Flick style. And what do I mean suits the Hansi Flick style? Well, we got to break down the two aspects of Hansi Flick, right? His attacking, which is direct football, and then, of course, his defense, which is more about pressing. Now, as far as attack, Karim Adeyemi is dangerous in one-on-one situations. That's something very important under Hansi Flick's system that relies a lot on the wingers, especially when it comes to unlocking low block defenses. And what makes Adeyemi dangerous in the one-on-one situation is, of course, his pace, his explosiveness, and his dribbling ability. Now, he might not have comparable technical abilities like to Lamine Yamal, but nonetheless, his explosive, his game-breaking threat, I think, has a lot of potential to broaden Barcelona's attacking options, right? Because right now we only have really Lamine Yamal who can take on defenders 1v1. By bringing Karim Adeyemi, well, now we have two players who can take players 1v1. So this would definitely broaden Barcelona's attacking options, right? But Hansi Flick is going to have more options to choose from when it comes to selecting his starting lineups. Now, when it comes to defense, well, Adeyemi's work rate off the ball is another consideration, of course. He's an effective passer. He's very he's a player that goes after the ball after the team loses it. He's a player that pressures the opposing team when they have the ball. And of course, this is very, very important for Hansi Flick, especially given that Flick likes to play with that high defensive line. And the only way the high defensive line works is if everybody is pressing. Otherwise, you're going to get caught with your pants down, right? Because if the opposing team is allowed to let a pass through real quick, well, it's over. But if all your players are pressing and they're all doing it in unison, then you can either prevent that pass from the opposing team completely so it doesn't make it to the back of your defenders, or you delay it enough to where your defenders get into position, or you make it comfortable and uncomfortable enough for that player that's making it to where, again, maybe it's not as accurate, maybe it's not as fast, etc. But the whole point of the defensive high line is, well, A, obviously to attack with your whole team, but B, if your players are all pressing, then it's not a problem because they can't get that pass to the back of their defenders. And while Adeyemi is one of those players that likes to press when he doesn't have the ball, so very, very important within Hansi Flick's team. So attacking-wise, it's an explosive player with lots of pace that can take on defenders 1v1. Without the ball, well, he's a player that likes to, help with the press. Both very, very important for Flick, so they can see why Hansi Flick requested the signing of Karim Adeyemi, the second official signing from for Barcelona. And of course, this is where I open it up to you guys. What do you guys think about Karim Adeyemi? Are you excited about him? Are you not? Do you think it's a good signing? Do you think it's a bad signing? Let me know in the chat section or in the comment section. And now let's start with the chat. And then we're going to talk about the third, I guess, possible signing of Barcelona. Maybe fourth if it happens after Cancelo, because Cancelo's coming, okay? As I said before, Joao Cancelo is happening. There's full agreement with the player. Right now, Barcelona are working it out with Al Hilal. There's some bureaucratic delays, but it's going to happen, whether it's next week or the week after, or they're saying to where when Barcelona comes back from the England training, which is, I think, August 3rd or August 4th. August 4th is when England preseason training ends. But whenever it happens, it's going to happen, right? So Cancelo for sure will be the third signing. So next segment, we're going to talk about the possible fourth signing. And that's next, but let's do the comments first. All right, let's see. The Rebel Pilot says, excluding Rafinha and Pedri, all of our captains are absolutely pathetic. I'd rather see Cubarsí, Lamine, or Eric Garcia wear the armband than Araujo or Frenkie de Jong. Well, I'm sure you guys saw the title of this live or of this podcast, and the title is, in case you missed it, I'm sick and tired of Barcelona's captains, and you're going to see why. I'm going to talk about two of them in this live. And of course, you can add Araujo to it. So that makes it three captains that I'm sick and tired of that need to be kicked out of this club, or at least get their armband stripped from them, because they have nothing that makes them a good captains. But anyway, Selvin says, in my opinion, we definitely need to revamp the captaincy, strip Frenkie of his captaincy. He's unreliable, and personally, I've become fed up with him. My nominee for captain are Rafa, Pedri, Eric, and Gabi. So Rafinha is already a captain, of course, which is good. I think he deserves it. Gabi, for sure. I've been saying this for a while. I think Gabi, the way he plays, the way he leads, he should definitely be a captain. I don't know about Pedri. Nothing against Pedri. I think he's the greatest midfielder on earth. I absolutely love Pedri as a player. Even as a person, and I don't know him personally, but whatever interviews I've seen him. But I don't know if that necessarily makes him a captain. I think he's an incredible player. But of course, to be a captain is not just about being an incredible player. It's also having those leadership qualities, right? So when you see, for example, Gabi, constantly, yelling, motivating his teammates, encouraging his teammates, trying to organize the midfield. When you see that, you're like, okay, that's that's leadership skills right there. I don't know if Pedri has that. I don't think I've ever seen him. Obviously, he organizes the team with his play, but as far as like encouraging and like, come on, let's go, I don't know if I've seen that from him. Again, I could be wrong, because after all, Messi was Barcelona's captain for so many years. He's Argentina's captain, and he's an incredibly quiet guy as well. So maybe I'm just, talking out of my ass. I don't know. But for sure, Gabi. Who else I would want to see as captain? I'm trying to think. Let me think. Fermin. I think Fermin, with his intensity, with his sacrifice for the team and for the club, I think he would make a good captain as well. And I think, yeah, those for me, definitely Gabi, Fermin. Rafinha, obviously, he's already a captain, so there's no need to make him one. And I could see Eddie Garcia, honestly. I can. Too bad Inigo Martinez is not here because I think he would have been an excellent captain for Barcelona. But anyways, we'll talk a little bit more about the captains. This podcast is fuck our captains edition. Not all of them, but definitely 3 of them. Let's see. George says the second live I made in a row. Let's go, George. And Carlos says since Mats is gone on a loan, does that mean someone else will be named captain for this year, or everything stays the same? That's a good question. As far as I understand how it works, everything stays the same. Because he's the number 1 captain, right? So like last season, he was gone because first half of the season, he was completely injured. Second half, he went to Girona, right? And it stays the same. So the only difference is obviously when your first captain is playing, he's the one who wears the armband. If he's not available, whether because he's on the bench or injured or on loan, then whoever's second, the armband goes to them. So I think second is Frenkie, if I'm not mistaken. And I think third is Araujo, and fourth Rafinha, because he was the latest to join. If I'm not mistaken, I might have the order wrong, but definitely doesn't affect it, right? It just goes to the next guy. Akum Long says Pedro Porro for right back with Laporte and Romero for CB, Cancelo for left back. Woo-wee, no more defensive problems. Next focus. Well, here's the thing. We have 4 right backs. What are we going to do with the 5th one? A lot of people forget that it's not just about, let's just sign players. And it's like, what do you do with the ones you have, right? And, it's not FIFA, right? You can, and when I say FIFA, I mean the video game. It's not, manager, what is it called? The manager mode FIFA, where you just sign players. Koundé is our starter. We have Eddie Garcia, who does a wonderful job in that position as well. We have Hector Ford, who just came back from loan. And we have Xavi Espart, who Hansi Flick definitely wants on the first team. You got 4 right backs right there. We bring Porro and have 5? It's just, the math ain't mathing. And as far as center backs, like I've mentioned a million times, we have 7. What are we going to do with an 8th one? It doesn't add up. Justice Boyo says, hello, Mo. Justice Boyo from the Gambia. I am so excited for the new signings and also impressed with La Masia kids on preseason training with high-quality training. Amen, my friend. Musa says, Rafa is my captain. Amen, my friend. And Money God says, I do have a member of your channel to stop getting so many ads. Do I have to be a member of your channel? I don't think the ads stop for members. I think if you become a YouTube member, which I think is like $15, I think that's what takes the ads away. But as far as the ads, it's not something I control, unfortunately. And, it's YouTube. That's how YouTube makes money, and that's how YouTube pays us content creators, right? It's through ads, right? They get to charge all these companies a crap load of money, and in exchange, they put the ads of these companies in everyone's videos. That's how YouTube makes money, and then we get like a small chunk of that money because, of course, YouTube makes trillions of dollars while we get the crumbs. But yeah, it's not something I can control. But I think if you become a YouTube member, not the channel member, but a YouTube member, like a paid member, then the ads stop. Jason says, Darwin Nunez to Barcelona. I know Darwin is good at dribbling. He don't know how to shoot a goal. No, there's no interest in Darwin Nunez for that reason. The guy cannot finish, right? The guy cannot finish. And, we need people who can score. But anyways, let's move on to the next bit of news because, of course, as I mentioned, Barcelona just announced their second official signing, Karim Adeyemi. But now we have to talk about a third possible signing, or maybe 4th, since Cancelo's for sure coming. So let's say 4th, because even though Julian is still target, we still don't know, but we know Cancelo is happening for sure. So let's say 4th. The 4th possible signing of this summer transfer market, who, of course, is someone we've talked about a lot on this channel, who's no other than, Jorge Salinas, the 19-year-old left back from Racing de Santander. Racing, of course, just got promoted to First Division, and he was key in that promotion effort. Someone with lots of potential, that kind of left back that Barcelona likes to have on their team. An explosive left back that can take the ball all the way down. They can send crosses, that can score goals, but at the same time can also track back and help with the defensive work. So in other words, a fullback, right? That's what Barcelona looks for in their fullbacks. which is exactly what this young man has to offer. Now, Barcelona have been tracking Salinas for quite some time. Of course, they reached a full agreement with the player to come to Barcelona, but then when they went to pay their release clause, they came across a problem that was a little bit generated by Atletico de Madrid, who are still salty that Barcelona are trying to take Julian Alvarez. So what's the problem? Well, the problem is that Salinas had an 8 million euro release clause. That release clause would automatically double to 16 million if Racing would get promoted to first division. Now, the season officially ends on June 30th. So until June 30th, Racing were still a second division team, even though they had gotten promoted. And starting July 1st, they were officially a first division team on paper, right? So Barcelona reached the agreement with Salinas before the July 1st. So when on paper, Racing were still a second division team. So when Barcelona went to pay his release clause, they said, okay, congratulations on getting promoted, but on paper, you're still a second division team. Therefore, because the season is not officially over, therefore, the release clause is worth 8 million euros. We want to pay you 8 million euros, and we want to take this youngster, and so he can be our player. A first-team signing, by the way. Salinas would not be a Barca Athletic signing. This would be a first-team signing. Atletico Madrid, who are also interested in Salinas, and found out that Barcelona had reached an agreement with the player, and they were trying to scoop him, they intervened and said, whoa, Racing, hold on. Barcelona's trying to rip you off. You got promoted. You're a first division team. They should pay you 16. And guess what? We're willing to pay you 16. So we want to take him, right? And Barcelona like, no, yes, you got promoted, but again, season doesn't end until June 30th. It's not June 30th. So the season's not over. So you're still a second division team. So it's still 8. Anyways, that's where it's been stuck, right? 8, 16, 8, 16, 8, 16. But we do have an update. And this update is in regards to what could finally unlock this operation. And well, it's another left back whose name is Jorge Torrents. Of course, Jorge Torrents, he debuted with the first team he did the preseason with the first team last summer and then debuted with the first team under Hansi Flick. Flick is a fan of Jorge Torrents. However, he believes that the player is not ready, right? That he's still green. He needs more experience. He needs more minutes to continue growing and developing before he could be ready to play on Barcelona's first team. Now, of course, Barca Athletic are still stuck in 4th division. So the club consider that Jorge has already outgrown 4th division. However, he hasn't outgrown enough to be a Barcelona first team player. So he's stuck in this gray area, right? Where he's too good for 4th division, but not good enough for Barcelona's first team. So what do? Well, Barcelona want to send him on loan somewhere else so he can continue growing and eventually, hopefully, become good enough for Barcelona's first team. Now, what team is now interested in him? Well, for starters, Ajax are. They're interested in taking him on loan, but we don't care about Ajax right now for this segment or for this bit of news. But Racing are also interested in him. So Barcelona are now trying to see if they can include Jorge in a deal, not permanent transfer, kind of like, hey, look, we'll give you 8 million for Salinas, and you can have Jorge the whole season so you can compete in first division because, of course, that's what teams do when they get promoted to first division. They always look to reinforce themselves to be able to compete at first division, and Barcelona's kind of like, all right, well, if you like Jorge, how about 8 million plus this guy on loan? There's also talks about maybe including a second player. We'll see, but Jorge Torrents could unlock the move for Jorge Salinas. And, of course, let me know what your thoughts are about Jorge Salinas possibly joining Barcelona and with Jorge Torrents headed that way. Now, honestly, whether Jorge goes to Racing or Ajax or whatever, I think that would be the best move for him. I would love to see Jorge go on loan somewhere else, first division, hopefully somewhere else. That way he can, get the minutes, get the experience that he's not going to get if he stays at Barca Athletic and plays another season in 4th division, right? So whatever happens with Salinas, I really hope that Jorge does end up going on loan to a first division team, whether it be in La Liga or somewhere else, so he can get minutes, he can continue growing, he can continue developing, and who knows, maybe next summer he comes back and just wows us all. All right, let's do the comment section. And then we talk about the first captain that F him. And then we'll talk about the second captain who I want to say F you to you as well. Normal Timo says that Frenkie slander is every year. Why it has to be the scapegoat every year? Has he given us so many years in our worst years, even no help? Slander. I don't think you know what slander means, but just in case, I'll pull it up from Google. Okay. And here's the definition. Slander is a false spoken statement that damages a person or a person's business reputation. It is a form of defamation, okay? Slander is a false spoken statement, okay? The next segment is going to be about Frenkie de Jong's injury. As far as I know, that injury is real. Why? Because the club have confirmed it. In fact, the player himself has come out and confirmed it as well. So there is nothing slanderous or false about Frenkie de Jong is being injured. So people, please, I know this is the age of the social media where people just throw words around like they have no consequences. Google the definition of words before using them, because words have meaning and words have implications. Don't just throw words around not knowing what the hell are you talking about. Just an advice, but I appreciate your comment and I appreciate you watching. This is just very good advice for life because, you never know. Your words can get you in trouble. I'm not saying about me. I don't care. You could say whatever. You can say, fuck you, Mo, you're an idiot. I don't care. But in real life, words can have consequences, really bad consequences. So choose your words wisely. Definitely Google a word if you're not sure what it means. That's always helpful. But anyways, let's move on to the next comment because Jose Fernandez says, Mo, if Julian doesn't come through, do you think that our Moroccan international number 9 will get some first team opportunities? Moroccan number 9. Who are we talking about? Moroccan. Are you talking about the Egyptian guy, Hamza? I don't see Hamza as being ready to be the starter. Definitely not. Like that's, Hamza is only 18 years old. He just finished playing with the Juvenil A, which is the under 19 team. So not even with Barca Athletic. I think he played a few matches with Barca Athletic, but he hasn't even spent a full season with Barca Athletic, and you don't go from Juvenil A all of a sudden to be a starter. Even Lamine Yamal, right, when he went from Juvenil A to Barca first team, he was a sub, and then eventually became a starter. So do I think Hamza can be a starter in the number 9? No, right? All right, let's see. What else? King Q says, hard disagree, Mo. Pedri has been a leader in this team since Koeman days. If you watch him, he's still encouraging teammates to slow the ball down, put it in hard work, and leading with actions. Okay, fair enough. I think he is a captain. Isn't he a captain? Isn't he the 5th captain? And Real Football says, and the other thing is, this is not the first time Frenkie has done such a thing, and the last time he did that, he almost left Barca. He's not appearing to me as someone who has learned a lesson. You ain't wrong, my friend. We'll talk about it in a little bit. Let's see. What else? Barca Reloaded says, I remember watching Adeyemi, I think 2 seasons ago, and telling my girlfriend we need this kid at Barca. And then boom, now he's a Barca player, happy with the signing. That's pretty awesome, my friend. Maybe you should send an email to Deco and be like, yo, you need some help? I got you. Let's see. What else? David, who says, wish we could do some kind of deal with City for Rodri and Frenkie in the winter transfer. I wish, man. I wish. Rodri and Barca, with the way we play, would be an absolute banger. I mean, he would be insane. But. We have Bernal. And yeah, Bernal is not as good as Rodri, obviously, right now. But I think he could be. Obviously, he's still young. He's still 19. He's still learning. He's still growing. He's still developing. But I think we already have our future Rodri. Well, more of our future Boozy. And his name is Marc Bernal. Now, my only worry would be if Rodri goes to Madrid. I think we would be in trouble there because, one of the main reasons why Madrid has failed so epically, aside from the fact that they have a completely fractured locker room where everybody wants to be the star and everybody wants to do whatever the hell they want, another big reason why they have failed epically these last 2 seasons is they don't have a midfield, right? They're top heavy. They have all these attackers, but there's nobody. It's a fractured team, not only a fractured locker room, it's a fractured team where there's no connection between the defensive block and the attacking block. And that's because they don't have a midfield, right? It's like Modric left and Kroos left, and that left them with no creative midfielder and someone that can connect both blocks. And if they bring Rodri, sheesh, and becomes that bridge between both blocks, sheesh, we would be in trouble. We would be in trouble. Nothing where we cannot handle. I mean, if we were able to handle Modric, Kroos, and Casemiro, we'd still be able to handle Rodri. But obviously, Madrid would be much, much better. They wouldn't be the same pathetic team that they currently are, which maybe it is a good thing, right? After all, it's always fun to watch, to see Barcelona spank them. But after a while, you're like, okay, can we get a little bit more competitiveness out of El Clásico? So, I don't know. We'll have to see. All right, one more comment, and then we'll talk about Frenkie, because Zach Urban says, Mo, do you think if Inigo started at a big club earlier, he could have been one of the greats? Maybe, but you know how Basque players are. They're very loyal to their clubs. Those Basque people are very proud of their heritage and their culture. And, when they play when they're Basque and they play for a Basque club, it's kind of like they tend to stick around for a very long time, most of the time for their whole careers, because it's like a family, right? It's not just I'm playing for a football club. It's like, no, I'm playing for, I'm playing for a club that's part of my roots, part of my heritage, part of my history, my pride as a Basque person, So maybe, I don't know about one of the greats, but definitely a top center back. I don't know if it's one of the greats, but definitely top center back in all of Europe. Yeah, because he was, to me, before he signed for Barca, he was already a top 5 center back in La Liga. So had he played for a big club, I think he would have been a top center back in all of Europe. I don't know about the greats, because, it's hard to compete with the likes of, Puyol and Maldini and, the greats, right? But definitely a top center back in all of Europe. That's for sure. All right, let's do the next bit of news. Let's talk about one of the captains who I'm sick and tired of, and then we'll talk about the next captain who I'm sick and tired of. And of course, it's Frenkie de Jong, because, ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona have confirmed his injury, and it looks like Frenkie has a torn ligament in his knee. We do not know which knee it is. Which ligament, not which knee it is. We do not know which ligament it is. There wasn't too specific, Barcelona's announcement, but we do know that Frenkie has a torn ligament, and that will, of course, make him miss a big chunk of the season. Now, Barcelona have not specified how long Frankie's going to be out. As usual, recovery will dictate return, blah, blah, blah. It's the same BS as always. But obviously, we can't speculate because, we've seen injuries like these before on other players. So you get an idea. Plus, doctors can always tell you, this kind of injury takes this long usually, or this long or that long. And right now, the speculation is that Frenkie could be out between 5 to 6 months. 5 to 6 months. That is absolutely insane. That means the whole first half of the season. Now, Frenkie has already missed 416 days due to injury since arriving in Barcelona. And now he's going to add another 150 days to those 416 days. And all because he played with an injury during the World Cup. And of course, these pictures became pretty, went viral, which is Frenkie de Jong playing with bandages on his knee. The knee's all like busted, it's all inflamed, red, purple, all colors that's not supposed to be. And of course, images of Frenkie always constantly icing his knee so he can continue to play. Now, it's reported that Barcelona are incredibly furious with Frenkie de Jong for playing with his injured knee. And of course, they're also incredibly furious at Ronald Koeman and the Netherlands national team, which, by the way, you guys remember last break, FIFA break, last season, there was a FIFA international break. I can't remember if it was the last one or the one right before it. Frenkie de Jong decided he was injured. He had an ankle injury. He hadn't been playing for Barca. And despite that, he decided to attend the Netherlands training camp and try to go play for the Netherlands while he's injured, which could have risked making his injury much worse like he did with this one. Thankfully, the Netherlands ended up sending him home. But right after that incident, Ronald Koeman came out and made those statements about how Barcelona doesn't take care of their players. Well, Mr. Koeman, what do you call this? Isn't that some irony right there? Talking about Barcelona not taking care of the players. What do you call this? Injecting your player with painkillers so he can play while injured, having him wear bandages and icing his knee constantly so he can play. I mean, is that taking care of your players, Mr. Koeman? The ball's on you, sir. The ball's on you. But anyways, Frenkie de Jong has released a statement addressing his injury, and this is what he said. Dear fans, normally I don't pay much attention to what is being written about me, the team, or the club. But recently, there's been a lot of speculation about my injury and my situation at Barca. It's difficult for me to see people questioning my relationship and commitment to the club because of false reports. Football is everything to me, and I have always given everything I have for FC Barcelona and my country. That is why I want to share what happened. So this is what supposedly happened that led to Frenkie de Jong's injury, according to the player. During the World Cup, I got injured on my knee. I think enough said, but anyways, let's continue. After the first assessments, the doctors told me it was a small injury and it wouldn't get worse if I continued playing. The only challenge was playing with some pain. But throughout my career, I have done that whenever I could contribute to the team, both for my club and my country. In my holiday, I returned to Barcelona for further examinations. These showed that the injury was more serious than initially determined. Thankfully, at this stage, there is no need for surgery, and I am now fully focused on my recovery and returning to the pitch as soon as possible. Every day, I work to be in the best possible shape. I take my profession, my body, and my responsibility to the team extremely seriously. Yeah, okay. But sometimes there are things you cannot control, and this injury is one of them, if you say so. Playing for Barca and Orange is something I feel incredibly proud of, and my commitment to both will never change. I will continue to give everything for this badge, for my teammates, and for our fans. There are still many moments to create and goals we want to achieve together. Thank you for all your support. I can't wait to be back. Visca Barça sempre. So, Frenkie de Jong says that during the World Cup, he got injured. And then he went to see the doctor, and the doctor told him that it was a small injury that wouldn't get worse. So he continued playing. And obviously, a small injury now has turned into a 5 to 6 month absence. So let's analyze this because, again, this goes back to the point of Koeman. Hey, Koeman, what happened to taking care of your players and that we didn't? Your own doctor's telling one of your players that he should continue playing on an injury. Care to apologize to Barcelona for your comments? Care to apologize for Barcelona that now they're going to have to pay his salary for 6 months that he's not going to be able to play, plus they're going to have to pay for his medical care? No, right? You don't give two shits. So you know what, Ronald Koeman? Fuck you. Mr. Frenkie, fuck you too. You are 27 years old or 28 years old. He's been playing professional football for, I think, 10 years. And you're telling me you did not know that you were not supposed to play on an injury in your fucking knee? In your knee. We're not talking about a muscle injury that you're like, okay, I'm a little sore. My muscle hurts a little bit. Maybe I continue playing, which, by the way, you still shouldn't, because a muscle can go from an injury to a tear. Muscle can tear as well, and then it also becomes a long injury. But your knee, an incredibly sensitive area, a part of the body that has ended the careers of thousands of players, including some of the greats like Ronaldo Nazario. And you tell me you did not know that having a knee injury, you should not play on it, even if it's small? You tell me you still don't know your body? I would understand if Frenkie was 18 years old, 17 years old, just starting his career, still doesn't know his body. You know, he still doesn't know how to differentiate being sore versus being injured. That happens, by the way. It happens with the young players. You know, they feel pain, but they haven't, experienced it as many times and don't have as much experience to differentiate truly between, okay, this hurts because I'm sore, or this hurts because, okay, this is an injury and I shouldn't play. No. You're a grown-ass fucking man, a veteran, a captain with so much experience at the Barca level and at the national level. And you told me and your excuse is, well, my doctor said it's okay. You fucking stupid. What are we doing here? And this is a Barca captain. A Barca captain, they gave two shits about Barcelona when he decided to pay his knee. I mean, fuck. Even if you didn't know your body and what feels like an injury and what doesn't, and even if you did not know that knee injuries are not serious, you saw your own fucking knee. Shit was the size of a basketball. It was blue. It was red. It was green. It was all colors. It was a rainbow. It was fucking Skittles bag. And you still did not think, maybe I shouldn't play. This is a cheap fucking excuse, because that's the kind of player that Frenkie is. Never assumes responsibility. In fact, right after the Netherlands got eliminated, his first statement out of his mouth was to blame Koeman. And this is the captain that we want. This is the guy who leads by example. This is who we want our players looking up to. We want our fans looking up to. A guy who risks his knee so he can play with the Netherlands while giving the middle finger to Barcelona, the club that pays his salary, an incredibly high salary that he doesn't deserve, by the way. Is this who we want as our captain? A guy who's always full of excuses and is everyone else's fault except his? You should have fucking known that you don't play with a knee injury, regardless of how small it is. So this is why I'm sick and tired of some of our captains. It's starting with this motherfucker who's now going to be sitting on the bench for 6 months while Barcelona pays him millions and while Barcelona covers his medical treatment. And for what? So your ass can get eliminated in the World Cup anyway, and then you can blame it on your coach? Why the fuck did we renew this guy? I have no fucking idea. But anyways, let's do the comment section, and then we're going to talk about the second captain who I'm sick and tired of. Let me see. Bensi says, do you think we're going to play more of a low block / more chill style of play next season in the Champions League? These two wingers suit it perfectly. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. I cannot speculate on what Hansi Flick might or might not do. Barca Reloaded says, I'm the biggest Frenkie de Jong supporter, but I'm getting tired of defending him now. I feel like he never prioritizes us. It's like he's there, but never there at the same time. I mean, it's not the first time. Again, he left to go play with the Netherlands during the FIFA international break last season while he was injured. He wasn't even playing for Barca, and he decides to catch a plane and go try to play for the Netherlands. What are we doing here? My goodness. Akib Fardin says, have you seen our 8800 passed house? Anyone who votes yay for it on Senate should be charged for treason. This is insanity. Sorry for getting too political. I'll keep Barca moving forward. Yeah, we'll just keep talking about Barca. I don't want to turn this into a political podcast. Edward says, I might have missed it, but is Frenkie going to be out 5 to 6 months? And did he refuse to leave without the deferred payment paid to him? That was his right. I have no beef with him over that. No, I don't care about the deferred payments. Look, I've never ever complained about players not forgiving. Like, for example, when players leave, like PK, for example, he left and he forgave like most of his debt, but Jordi Alba or Busquets didn't. And people were like, "Oh, they should." That to me, it's dude. It's your contract. It's your salary. You're entitled to your salary. Whatever. I'm not gonna, say, "Oh, Frenkie, he should forgive his deferred salary," because it's his salary. I don't give a fuck about that. But when you go and play while injured, knowing that injury is gonna make things worse, and knowing that the ones that are gonna pay for it is Barca, not the Netherlands national team. The World Cup is over. Netherlands not even gonna miss him, right? He's gonna be out. Who cares? World Cup is over. It's us who have to pay for his medical care, for his salary, while he sits on the bench for 6 months recovering. So, Jesus. But anyways, Normal says there is. He posted it all on his social media story. He explained everything. I know he explained everything. That's why I just went over it. Edward says, "Oh yeah, Mo, about your ripped pants. Just make housewife 2 or 3 different size needles weaved into an inch of thin cardboard and 3 different threads wrapped around. You can keep it in your wallet." I like that option. The only problem is I can't sew. But I like that. I really need to learn how to sew. That's a very important skill, by the way. A skill that unfortunately not many people learn like me. But it is. I mean, you have no idea how many clothes I've ripped, and I'm like asking my girlfriend, like, "Hey, can you sew this for me?" Or if I'm like back home visiting and telling my mom, "Can you sew this for me?" Like, I'm a grown ass man. It's time to learn how to sew. It really is. And it has to start, of course, with first buying a sewing kit. I don't even have a sewing kit. Adrian says, "Hello, Mo. It's been a while." I think that's what you try to say. Since I catch you live, I think we need a lot of to let go. How do I read a lot of? We need to let go of Araujo, Frenkie, and Ferran. What do you think watching live from Zambia? I'm okay with letting all 3 go. The problem is Araujo obviously just renewed. So it's going to be tough. Unless he decides to leave on his own, which there is talks about an outstanding conversation between him and Flick that's yet to happen. If that happens, then we can... And, of course, Flick tells him, "Hey, we're not counting on you. Just leave." He might leave. So there is a chance. I don't know how big of a chance, but there is a chance. Frenkie just renewed. He's not leaving. He didn't want to leave when he barely had any time left on his contract, and the club wanted to push him out. He's definitely not going to leave now. Especially now with his busted-ass knee. Like, who's going to want to take him? As far as Ferran, it looks like he's serious about leaving, man. Looks like he's serious. The car says Rodri hard twerking for Madrid, and he's going to get surgery soon, so basically out for a big part of the season like Frenkie. Damn, there may be more reason for Madrid to sign him. Zach Urban says, "Don't think Rodri can fix Real Madrid. Sure, they'll play better, but they have much deeper wounds in the team." The only thing that can fix Madrid, and please don't listen to me, Florentino. Not that I will, but just in case he was flipping through YouTube. Do not listen to this, Florentino. Just mute the TV. The only thing that would fix Madrid is some heads need to roll, right? Mbappe, Vinicius, and Birmingham, and Valverde, apparently, they each think they're the boss of Madrid. They each think they can dictate what happens. They each think they can do whatever they want. They each think that the team needs to do what they want to do, and that the coach needs to do what they want to do, and that the club needs to bend to their will, and that they get to call the shots. And as long as you have those 4 guys in there, the locker room is always going to be fractured and split. And, it was crazy. I could see it from Mbappe because, he did it at PSG. Now he's doing it here. I could see it in Vinicius because he's always running his mouth and he always wants to be the star. I could see it from Birmingham because the same thing. But I was very surprised to learn that from Valverde because, you look at him and he looks like such a quiet guy, head down, puts in the work. But then he tried to do the same in Uruguay. So now you're like, okay, well, now you're doing it at 2 teams. It's happening at 2 teams. You're the common denominator. So it looks like Valverde is also a problem, right? So the only way that problem is solved is if heads roll. If Florentino says, "You know what? Enough is enough. I don't give a shit who you guys are. The club is bigger than you. The club has existed way before you. It's going to continue to exist way after you. So you either get it together or you're out, and one of them has to go, like as an example. Like, all right, I don't know, Vinicius, for example. Uh, Done. I'm tired of you running your mouth all the time on the field. You're out. You other three, Valverde, Mbappe, and Birmingham, you've been warned. You just saw. I don't flinch. Vinicius is out. If any of you fuck up, you're next. And if they do, boom, out. That's the only way it happens. Obviously, it would be very, very expensive, but it's the only way it will happen, you know? Because right now, those four, I think they run the club, think that they're untouchable. I'm Mbappe, so I'm the biggest name in football. Nobody can do anything to me. But if Florentino comes and puts them on the stands and says, all right, well, you're not playing a single minute until you learn how to play as a team member, then he's going to be like, shit, I better get it together. I'm not the boss here. But as long as that doesn't happen, nothing else is going to happen. Let's see. Kino says, I would love to see Bernal being trained, coached by Busquets. Ooh, brav. Busquets will be an assistant coach. Well, they're in talks right now. It's not official. But Barcelona are in talks with Busquets so he can become the assistant of Giuliano Belletti at Barca Athletic. So who knows? I mean, he's going to be around. You know, they all train at the Ciudad Esportiva. Maybe Busquets can go, be like, hey, here's some pointers. Maybe Bernal can hop over and be like, hey, Busquets, you have a minute? Let's have lunch. Can you give me some pointers? It can happen. And who better to learn from than the best five we've ever had. Takara says, I mean, if you're going to criticize Frenkie, Rafinha should also be getting some heat because he also keep injuring himself during national team games. He did. I said it right here. I'm like, why the fuck are you injuring yourself, risking your health to play a friendly match against France in Boston? Like, and I said it on the channel here. I was like that was fucking stupid. He ended up missing the end of the season because he decided to play a friendly match. This wasn't even, at least with Frenkie, which is not an excuse, still fuck him. But at least with Frenkie, he risked injury for the World Cup. Rafinha risked injury for a freaking friendly match. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? Like, what are you going to get out of this friendly match by risking your health? You win it, okay, and then what? Does it help you in any shape or way? Does it help Brazil in any shape or way? Zero. So, yeah, I have said it. Sorry you missed it. Defiant says, let's be honest, Holland didn't have a shot. The Netherlands. Didn't have a shot at this World Cup. Why risk your career over this team? You know, it's kind of like, what's his face? Umtiti, right? He risked his knee and his whole career was over. Now, at least with Umtiti, he ended up winning the World Cup in 2018 with France. But then his whole career went to shithole, right? He spent the next 4 or 5 years injured at Barca, not playing a single minute. Then he went to Lecce. And then he went back to France. Was it Lyon? Was that where he got his start? I always confuse those French clubs. I was confused like Lyon with Monaco, with all of them pretty much, all farmers. And now he's retired. And it's like he ruined his whole career. And OTT at the time, by the way, when he plays the 2018 World Cup, he was one of the best, if not the best center back in the world. And he went from top of the world, best center back, World Cup winner, to gone. After 2018, there was no MTT. There was just a shell of MTT left. And I guess that's not a good lesson for Frenkie. Apparently nothing is, because this motherfucker keeps doing it. But anyways, let's do the last bit of news. Let's talk about the second captain, who I'm also sick and tired of. And well, it's no other than Marc Ter Stegen, because now the reason why his move has been delayed is because fuck this guy. That's why. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, as you know, Ajax very interested in taking Ter Stegen on loan. Of course, Ajax have a new coach, Mitchell, who's the former coach of Girona. When Mitchell was at Girona, he requested the signing of Ter Stegen, which Girona signed on loan and then went to transfer market. It didn't work out because, of course, Ter Stegen got injured right away. And now that Mitchell is at Ajax, he has once again requested the signing of Ter Stegen, which, of course, Barcelona were in favor of because they need to send Ter Stegen somewhere. He's not going to play at Barcelona, right? The starter is Juan Garcia. The sub is Chesney. And they need Ter Stegen to get minutes somewhere so he can at least get back into competitive rhythm, and hopefully someone will sign him on a permanent basis. So Barcelona were okay with this. Ter Stegen initially was hesitant to the idea because he wanted to stay in Barcelona close to his wife and kids, ex-wife and kids. And now he is on board. Now, once Ter Stegen agreed, negotiations happened between all three parties. Everybody reached an agreement. Everything was good to go. And with Ter Stegen was set to leave, all of a sudden he no longer liked the deal. Why? Because the way his salary package was split, where Barcelona are going to cover most of it, and Ajax is only going to cover a small part. The way the split was done, Ter Stegen's taxes would have been a little higher, or the way it was split. So he was like, I don't want to go because I don't want to pay more taxes. So it got stuck there, and it wasn't moving anywhere. And of course, some talks started to surface that Ajax could move on in their search because, well, even though they want Ter Stegen and they're willing to wait and be patient, they cannot wait forever because the more time passes in the transfer market, well, the less options you have because the more the players who are available start signing for other clubs. Also, preseason, right? You gotta know who your players are going to be for the preseason. So Barcelona have now offered Ter Stegen a new deal with a new salary split that will lessen his tax obligation. And it seems like the player is okay with this. And it looks like this deal is going to go through. Now, this loan needs to be completed before July 31st, which is the deadline for registration, I think, for the Conference League, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. There's a registration deadline coming up for Ajax. So they need to finalize this before July 31st. And if it doesn't happen by July 31st, they will be moving on with their search. And this is why, of course, Barcelona had to offer Ter Stegen a new deal so he can take it, and his tax obligation is not as big. Now, it's reported that Ajax will cover less than 2 million of the salary of the players. I mean, Barcelona's going to cover pretty much most of it. And the salary is not a fixed amount of what Ajax are going to pay. It's going to depend on Ter Stegen's participation, where the more he participates, the more Ajax cover, but no more than 2 million. The less he participates, the less Ajax pay a portion of his salary. This is kind of like the deal with Umtiti, speaking of the devil. When Umtiti went to Lecce, Barcelona actually agreed to cover his full salary, 100% of his salary. And then the more matches he played, the more Lecce had to pay Umtiti. So this is kind of like this, but this doesn't start at zero like with Umtiti, right? But the more Ter Stegen plays, the more Ajax have to cover of his salary. No more than 2 million, though. So even if he plays every single match, they're not going to pay more than 2 mil. The less he plays, the less they cover. So why do I say F Ter Stegen? Even though it looks like the deal's going to go through. Because this deal almost fell through because this motherfucker, who's supposed to be a Barca captain, someone who's been at the club for so long, wasn't happy with his taxes. It's not that he wasn't happy with what he was going to get paid because Barcelona's going to cover most of his salary and Ajax is going to cover a small. No, he just didn't like what his taxes are. Well, motherfucker, that's your problem. I'm not happy with the taxes I have to pay on my salary either. But you don't see me throwing tantrums about it because that's part of being an adult, a working adult. You have to pay your taxes. And nobody was taking, Barcelona, we're not going to pay you less, or Ajax, we're not going to pay you less. It was just the way it was split was going to increase your taxes. And that sucks, but that's your fucking problem. But he was willing to blow up the whole deal because Mr. Ter Stegen, who hasn't played in 2 seasons due to injury, who didn't want to pay a little bit more in taxes when Barcelona have been paying his salary for the last 2 years and he hasn't played a single fucking minute. And again, I'm not saying he should forgive debt that Barcelona owe him or forgive the deferred salary that that's his money. That's his salary, whatever. But your taxes, that's your responsibility. And now Barcelona's had to go back, reformat everything, because Mr. Ter Stegen, who hasn't played a single minute for Barcelona in 2 years, wasn't okay with his own responsibility, with his own taxes. And that's the captain. This is the guy setting the example for the rest of the team. So to Frenkie de Jong, who's the second time who wants to play while injured, giving the middle finger to Barcelona, to Ter Stegen, who continues to give Barcelona the middle finger, fuck you both. You guys do not deserve to be captains, and you do not deserve to be Barca players, but definitely not captains. And I think I'm sick and tired of the club just, the captains, once you're a captain, you just stay a captain until you leave. No, it's time to start stripping players from their captaincy because neither Ter Stegen nor Frenkie deserve to be captains. And if you want to add a third one here, or fuck you captains, I would definitely, you could add that Araujo too. Because motherfucker falls apart every time there's some kind of pressure on him. How are you a captain? If you cannot handle some pressure, how are you a captain? So I guess we'll add him to this list. So Frenkie, Ter Stegen, Araujo, fuck you all. And I hope that Barcelona strips away your captain armbands. All right, that's all the news. That's all the slander. All this news was fake. Adeyemi did not sign for Barca. Barcelona did not present him today. It's slander. Frankie's not injured. That was also slander. And Ter Stegen did not delay his deal. It's all slander. Because, yeah. Let's see. Football says, make Ferran Torres captain, Araujo vice captain. Oh, man. Oh, Ferran. Sharquinho. Who doesn't love Sharquinho? Let's see. A. Rodriguez. Let's see. Man, that Frenkie hate is so forced. Where is the salaries for Rafinha? Did nobody fucking watch when I roasted Rafinha here for injuring himself while playing with Brazil? Or you guys just got to say something? Oh, look, he's attacking a player we like. So let's just pull something out of our ass, even though we have no idea what we're talking about. I talked about Rafinha, okay? So stop with the fucking retarded comment of, what about Rafinha? I already fucking talked about Rafinha. If you don't know, don't fucking talk about it. Hendrik says, if anyone condones this from Frenkie de Jong, you are ridiculous. 100%. I mean, what's the excuse here? You're okay with Frenkie giving us the middle finger? You're okay with Frenkie playing injured, making his injury worse, and now he's going to miss half the season, half a season that we're going to have to pay his salary, half a season where we're going to have to pay his medical recovery while he does nothing, while he sits at home and scratches his balls. You're okay with that? You seriously okay with that? We have a club that's broke, that has $3 billion in debt, and now they have to pay millions to a fucking guy who's not going to do anything because he chose to play injured. And you're fucking justifying it? And you call yourself a Barca fan? You know what? I'm going to add someone else to this list of captains. Fuck you too if you defend this. How about that? Let's see. Wait, that's not addressed at me. Takada says, yes, give your all for a meaningless friendly and get injured to miss out on the most crucial part of the season. Champions League, not. Again, I talked about this. God damn it. The Rebel Pilot says, also when Rafinha got injured for Brazil during the World Cup, he didn't inject himself with painkillers just to force himself to keep playing while Frankie or FDJ did. And Barca Reloaded says, can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm going to need Flick to treat Frenkie the same way he did with Ansu. He He has to be taught a lesson now where Barcelona, I'm not sure he understands. What a shame, by the way, what happened with Ansu. I was really hoping that he would be, um, you know, maybe not the next big thing, but he definitely had potential, and with all that knee injuries and the surgeries, it's really sad. But Flick trusted in him. He saw the potential, but it looks like it was Ansu Fati wasn't willing to go all out during training, and Flick didn't like that. So now Ansu's at Monaco. Let me see. Lazo says, yes, I can agree about my guy. You know you're injured and in your knee and you inject painkillers, but when he was supposed to play against Atletico, he ducked. This guy doesn't prioritize Barcelona first. Exactly. And let's see. Kido says, can we deregister Frenkie for the first half of the season, free up some money? Yes. So obviously, just like it happened with Ter Stegen last summer, and then we registered Joan Garcia in his place, or the summer before that with Christensen, where we registered Dani Olmo and Victor. What was his name? Victor. Why am I blanking on his name? The center forward that we signed. Victor. Jesus. Blanking on his name. Help me out, chat. What was his name? Victor. Completely blanking on his name. But anyways, just like we signed Olmo and Victor in the place of Christensen, and last summer Joan Garcia in the place of Ter Stegen, yes, Barcelona can use a part of the salary of Frenkie to register other players. So yes. No, not Vitor Roque, Nathan. Shit. No, not Roque. It's not Roque. We registered him. We signed them with Olmo at the same time, and we registered both of them using Andreas Christensen's salary when Christensen got injured. Pau Victor, thank you. Pau Victor, thank you, Glenn. I don't know why I just could not remember his name. I just kept remembering Victor. Okay, let's see. Noor says, I would love Rodri in place of Frenkie at Barca, but Mo, we are being overly critical of Frenkie injury. Everyone prioritizes World Cup. Rodri will not have surgery. Same with Rice, Saliba playing. But I don't give a fuck about those players. I don't care about Saliba or Rice or Rodri because I care about Barca players, and I'm not okay with players doing this and then fucking up their whole season because they want to play with injury. Lamine Yamal missed the first match, and then he was a sub in the second and the third matches during the group stages because he was 2 months out of an injury. So he could have definitely forced it because he had been recovering for 2 months, all of April and all of May. Actually, almost 3 months because, 2.5. And he still didn't. He missed the first match. He played some minutes the second match. And he played some minutes, like he was on the bench. He kept coming off the bench until he was fully fit, and then he started playing 100%. So this whole other players do it. 2 wrongs don't make it right. Other people steal too. Should we all be stealing? Nathaniel says, remember when we said it was stupid for Valverde to do it? He played a lot of games with injections. Now one of our captains said, hey, let me try this too. Let's see. Carlos says, if it's true that Flick is pissed with Frenkie for last year's Champions League game against Atletico Madrid, do you see him icing him out and not letting him play at all? Shit, he can't play at all for the next 6 months. But we'll see. There are reports saying that Flick is incredibly upset at Frenkie. Understandably so. Why wouldn't you be? Again, this is not an amateur. This is not someone who doesn't know. Like this whole the doctor told me. Come on. It's a bullshit fucking excuse. Telling me you didn't know. Oh, first time I hear that if you have a knee injury, it's okay. Seriously, your knee, the most sensitive part of your legs, your knee. And people want to be like, oh, the doctor told him. Are you that gullible? Like seriously. You that gullible to think that, he believed the doctor. Jesus. Enrico says, last time I heard of a player not wanting to play was Christensen, but he got re-signed. We have back back of keeping players out with no interest of being at Barca apart from the privilege of living in Spain. Yeah. Until this day, I will never understand why the fuck we renewed Christensen. 2 seasons injured. Two. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing, man? But anyways, Kerry says, whatever happened to Pau Victor? He went to Portugal, if I remember correctly. What was the team? I forgot. Pau Victor. Let's see. Where is he at now? Braga. That's where we sold him to. Yeah, we transferred him to Braga. For 12 million. Not bad. It was actually a really good deal because we signed them for 5.50, so sold them for 12. Doubled our investment. Not bad. Let me see his stats from last season because obviously I do not watch Portuguese league. Does anyone watch Portuguese league besides people who live in Portugal? Just kidding. Let me see. All competitions 2020. What was the last season? 2025, 2026. I don't even know what season it was last season. Let's see. He played 56 matches for them. Wow. 17 goals and 6 assists. Not bad. Go Pau Victor. Nice. He played 32 matches in the league, in the Portuguese league, 13 in the Europa League. Okay, 4 in the Portuguese Cup, 4 in the Europa League qualifying. Nice. Go Pau Victor, 17 goals and 6 assists. That's not bad, man. 24 goal contribution for Braga. Very nice. Very nice. Well done, Pau Victor. Well done. And we do have a donation. Sanjok says it's a high time for Gabi to perform this season. He has completely recovered and would love to see him as a pivot for backup of Pedri or Bernal. Yeah, I do like Gabi in that position, in that double pivot position. He played there last season, some matches, and I really liked his performance there. I like it much better than when he plays as an attacking mid. I like it more him in as a holding midfielder better. But yeah, we'll see, man. I mean, the competition for the midfield right now is insane, right? We have Pedri, Bernal, Fermin, Olmo, Gabi. Lots of competition. Lots competition. And then, of course, we'll see. Seems that Flick is a big fan of Tommy Marquez. So maybe he'll get some minutes here and there. And we'll see what happens with Casado. But yeah, man. Lots of players. But thank you, my friend. For your donation. Kerry says, now that you've seen Gordon at the World Cup, what are your thoughts? I'm not seeing 80 million worth. I'm not either, but I'm definitely seeing why Flick signed him. I mean, this guy is explosive, man. He's so fast. The guy is so fast. I mean, the way he's going to be beating a lot of defenders just with speed alone. I mean, think about Rafinha, but faster, right? Rafinha, that season that he shined, not this last one, but the one before, a lot of his goals came from off the break, right? Just him zooming past defenders, get it and attacking the empty space or the backs of the defenders and then scoring those goals. And that's how Rafinha was able to put up insane numbers that 2 seasons ago. Well, I think Rafinha that season, that's Gordon. That's at least what I saw from Gordon, but even faster. So he's definitely going to be he's going to be just bombarding the backs of defenders with his speed. Crosses also, I really enjoyed his crosses. He had some pretty good assists. I mean, even in the goal against Argentina, the way he beats Molina, the way he beats, he just sneaks up on him. He's so fast that Molina doesn't even realize that guy's behind him and scores the goal. I really like what I saw from Gordon. Is it 80 million worth? Well, 70 plus 10. I don't think so. I think maybe 50, something like that. But time will tell, right? If he comes to Barca and then he ends up putting up numbers like Rafinha did that 2 seasons ago, then we're going to be like, okay, yeah, he's worth that, right? Sometimes the price becomes retroactive, right? Where, if it works out, then ends up being priced. But as it stands right now, no, I wouldn't pay 70 plus 10. But I did like what I saw from him in the World Cup. I really did. And under Flick, the way Flick plays, Oh, and then his press. I mean, the way Gordon presses, man, he looks like a possessed person. I mean, he's gonna shine in Flick's system from what I saw in the World Cup. He's definitely gonna shine. Uh let's see. Kissy says, Mo, now reach. Can I get a quick recap of what you said so far? Bro, it's been an hour and 15 minutes. I can't recap to you an hour and 15. Barca says, hey Mo, first time commenting, but hopefully Gordon and Adeyemi keep Rafa and Yamal on their toes. Definitely Rafa. I don't know about Lamine, man. I don't know if Adeyemi has what it takes to keep him on his toes, but I hope so. I hope so, because competition is the best thing in sports, right? It keeps players training and working hard and playing to their best, and everybody gains from it. Inconsistente says he was left at a Leeds tour in Valencia. Still have not signed him. We can hijack him and reserve him on the bench. What are we talking about? Oh, Ramazani. Let me see. Let's see what's going on with Ramazani. Leeds until 2028. Who's interested in him? Let me see. Who's interested in Ramazani right now? I don't see. Die. Let's go. I don't see his transfer market. Usually they have the teams that are after a certain player. Yeah, so I see him out of the tour, but I don't see any player. But no, I mean, what are we gonna do with another left winger? You know, can't just keep collecting them like Infinity Stones. But anyways, that is all. That is all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, peace, guys.